Hello, it's the Disclosure Artist back at you, and I'm here today to discuss the first item on the list that I mentioned in my previous video, which is the profound UFO experience that both of my parents shared um, when my mother was pregnant with me in the stomach. So they were at and I'm going to leave out any names that may affect the unwilling to participate, just to protect them. So my parents were at a dinner party at their friend's house, so there was another couple there, and they had a son who was roughly 5 years old at the time. Again, my mother was pregnant with me, so I wasn't born yet. And this is, as it's been relayed back to me numerous times by both my mother and father on multiple occasions, I've come to the conclusion that I can tell the story just as well as they can at this point. So back to the dinner party. It's after dinner. They're sitting on I guess they had an outside patio. This is a house that's in the middle of nowhere, essentially in the middle of the forest, the woods, miles in any direction from the next neighbor. There was a military base nearby, so this may have something to do with what exactly it is that happened in this particular location. Anyway, they're sitting outside after dinner, just enjoying the air. I think they're sitting on a terrace facing a body of water. I believe there's a lake by their house. And out of nowhere, um, the mother of the couple whose house it was, she decided that she needed to go upstairs and put her kid to bed. It was time for him to go to bed, sometime around 11 o'clock at night. So this is already late for a kid to be up at that age. When she goes upstairs to put him to bed, we're now left with three people sitting outside: my parents and the husband of the second couple. According to my mother, according to my father, out of nowhere, completely peaceful evening, they begin to hear what my father describes as what he felt was the most barbaric collaboration of metallic noises ever. He thought that a garbage truck was about to ram into the building and destroy everyone and everything there. That's what he said it sounded like, just the clinging and clanging of extremely loud metallic noises, uh, almost encapsulated inside of a humming bass type of sound, almost like a droning, very noisy, intrusive, intimidating sound. This noise went on, which seemed to be coming from directly above them, for about 30 seconds to a minute, as my mother recalled or recounted to me that she was basically saying prayers to leave her and her baby alone and to go away while this was happening. And she was so afraid that she was prepared to die. She literally was halfway consciously on the other side with regard to letting go of this world. She was just filled with so much fear because it was just so bizarre and just so completely out of nowhere that this happened. So after this sound basically just comes in and after them, it all of a sudden just cuts off, like and it stopped. After that, my father said he recalls the gentleman that he was sitting with taking his hand and pointing at the sky, saying, "Look!" At which point, the two of them, my father and the gentleman, observed a classic flying saucer, if you want to call it that, just your silver disc hovering in the sky above the body of water. My father said he could count windows on the craft, and he recalls counting out loud 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the thing took off, disappeared into the atmosphere. And that was the entire That was the entire encounter right there. The odd thing is that when the wife came down of the husband who was out there with us, after putting her son to bed, she had a completely bewildered response. She had no idea what anyone was talking about. Everybody had shocked looks on their face. They couldn't believe what just happened, and she hadn't experienced any of it. So either what happened to the people outside who observed it, my parents included, was the controlled scenario, or again, whatever happened to the woman upstairs, that was the isolated incident. We don't know exactly what happened. Perhaps there was a temporal interference. Maybe there was missing time. We don't exactly know what happened, except that she had no idea what anyone was talking about. This gentleman, who was her husband, was a very pragmatic man, deeply rooted in his philosophical roots, his current understanding of reality, what he understood to be the true nature of reality. And this shook him quite a bit to the core. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, it ended up dissolving the relationship or the friendship between my parents and the second couple, because they couldn't acclimate this into their current worldview. So they preferred just to completely block it out and pretend it didn't happen at all, which naturally just caused the relationship to dissolve. But in any event, this did happen. It's, I think, one of the profound catalyzing events that caused my mother to later in her life look into ufology. I can get into that in future videos, where I ended up finding her copy of Communion, the Whitley Strieber book. And I remember as a kid wondering, what is the difference between all of these cool things that are constantly surrounding us, aliens, mutants, robots, dinosaurs, what's real, what's not, etc. And I recall picking up that book and wondering exactly, why this book, which is obviously a real thing, or at least presented in such a way, is, shuffled in with all the rest of my fantasy books. So that was my parents' UFO experience. It happened with my mother pregnant with me. God knows what the implications of that are. But now you guys can think about it, talk about it, and I'll see you in my next video. Stay well, my friends.